Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first Game Talk of 2024. Go ahead, Eagles. We were talking on Thursday how difficult that game is. We haven't won in years. Kabir is with us today. We just saw the game. My God, man, that was a narrow escape, if you can say it like that, actually.
Yeah, it was a real roller coaster of momentum was with one team, then the other, and it was an old school football tennis match, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I think for the for the neutrals, it was obviously, like you said, Juan, an amazing game to watch. But for us Ajax fans, you were always at the edge of your seat, So it was one of those games where you're just happy you come out the right side, and you take the 3 points with you. You leave Deventer as quickly as possible and go back home to Amsterdam.
Yeah. Look, let's take out the positives. Let's start with the positives first. Let's be honest about the game. Probably undeserved that we got the 3 points, but we'll talk about it later. A couple of positives from today's game. In your opinion, what stood out for you?
Well, I think, needless to say, our goalkeeper, Amai, is someone who, I mentioned it before, that for all the criticism that Mislintat rightly receives, one thing that we cannot lose sight of is that he was very, he was a sort of a strong, very vocally strong, and a supporter of bringing Ramai to the club, because there was obviously a lot of talk about Ole from Sparta as well. But look, he's wow, what a keeper, what a gem of a signing. I mean, also fits into that Ajax style of play, technically very astute, good with his feet, almost acts as like an 11th outfield player. All the attributes you need, and he makes up for his lack of length in so many other ways. He saved us today, and he saved us previously, and he'll save us also in the future, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else positive you want to highlight?
I think, look, Robbie's goal was very well taken. So I think that that's also continuing on with the trend of, earlier on in the season, one of our biggest focal, sort of critical points was, he does everything really well, but actually, can he finish? Can he take his chances? But we're actually seeing a complete turnaround in the last few months with that. A very well taken goal, and surprisingly a good assist by Stevie Bergwijn. So I think, look, Tahirovic getting on the score sheet, although he had a relatively poor game, I thought it was a well taken goal. Apart from that, positive, not really. I think that there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done in terms of midfield, and the amount of space that we leave for our opposition. But look, it's not an easy place to play. First game back, New Year, first game after the break. Historically, we've not done very well.
Pitch was horrible.
Pitch was horrible, and it was raining. So look, those circumstances didn't make it ideal. So those were the few positives. But the biggest positive, Juan, was obviously you get the win, you take it with you, you move on to next week.
And we narrow the gap to AZ, right?
Yeah, for sure. Slowly and steadily making our way up.
Okay, now in terms of the fact that we're Ajax fans, a little bit critical sometimes. Look, I'm not going to dwell too much on the criticism because we're just coming back, and I agree with you. The pitch was poor. All these kind of things were taken into consideration. But there is a certain standard that we expect from Ajax, right? And I felt like going into this game, but also at the end of last year, 2023, why is it so difficult, in your opinion, to control a game if we're leading by 2-1 or stuff like that? Why can't we just control the game? Why do we have to play the tennis game like you mentioned? Why do we have to go in that, volatile up and go, with the team? Why can't we just control the game as we can? Because if we have the ball, usually we're supposed to be a good team, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that it all boils down to confidence. The confidence that the players have individually, the confidence that the players have in one another. Look, in any sport, in any team sport or individual sport, winning is a habit. And the more you win, the more you understand in certain moments how to control a game, how to close a game out, what needs to be done in order to do that. But when you're going through a season or a phase that's very choppy, you win one game, you lose the other. There was a period of time where we were rock bottom in the league. There's been so much criticism from the press. There's obviously been all the issues with the board as well, people coming, people going. that all stems, that points to instability, and that finds its way out onto the pitch as well. So I think that it's a simple case of that, because these guys are not, to play for Ajax you have to be good enough, and I think that obviously whilst it's not quality individualistically as we've been used to in previous seasons, these guys are still good footballers. So in my opinion, it's all down to do with the confidence in that moment of understanding what to do and when to do.
Okay. Does that mean, in your view, right? Does it mean that there's still a lot of potential in terms of growing still in towards the end of the season? Can this team still show us in a couple of weeks' time maybe better football?
Yeah, I think so, because like for instance, today again is a very crucial result that you take away, because they'll come off that pitch knowing, and on the way back to Amsterdam, they'll talk about it and they'll know that they didn't play well, but you can still walk away with the 3 points. So I think that again, that sort of infuses confidence, and then there is scope to grow, absolutely, because there are guys on that pitch that have potential. It just hasn't worked out so far this season. And you can see that there's been an increase in terms of performance, and also, the amount of points that we've actually had under Jon van het Schip. So again, all of that are good signs. And I think, look, and we might touch upon this maybe a little bit later on, but bringing someone in with the caliber of a Jordan Henderson could really be a key signing, because that's that experience that this squad is just screaming for, and especially in the position he plays in midfield, someone that can really hold it together, someone that they can look over the shoulder and they're like, okay, Jordan Henderson's there, someone who's been there, done that at the elite level.
Talking about the midfield, you highlighted this for the second time, but we also mentioned this a couple of times earlier as well throughout the season. What is going on the midfield? Is it like, are the players that are being put on the midfield, are they not compatible? Are they not the players that should play on a certain position? Let's say Tahirovic is not a number 6, for instance. Some people say that. Or is it more tactics? Is it more like the way we play makes us vulnerable in transition? How do you see that?
I think it's probably the tactical element of it as well, because I think that we obviously play, playing for Ajax, the club stands for a certain way of playing, dominating, always playing on the half of your opponent, pressing, retrieving the ball within a certain amount of seconds, wide players, etc., etc. So there's a lot of risk attached to that style of play anyway. And with Jon van het Schip obviously managing us now, he knows how Ajax need to play the game. So it's more, I feel, not necessarily about compatibility or the ability of the players. It's still trying to understand actually, okay, because a lot of these guys aren't used to necessarily playing this kind of way. So I think it's more to, and look, in an ideal world that we would have all hoped that within 6-7 months they would have understood it, but clearly it's going to take them a little bit longer. There were an alarming amount of gaps in our midfield, and that's probably more a criticism of Go Ahead Eagles that they didn't make use of it. A better team would have, 100%. But again, you look at the pictures of today's game, you implement it in training in the upcoming week, and you see how that can be improved.
Overall, looking back at the game, you already mentioned upon it, but just briefly, what's the overall feeling that you have, and always looking to the next game, RKC next week?
Yeah, look, my feeling is that, you go there, you get the 3 points, and you're happy with that. For me, that's the most important thing at this stage of the season. It's slowly but surely trying to finish as high as you can in the league. It's about winning in any way possible. Of course, I know there will be many Ajax fans that will disagree with me and say, no, but we have to play the Ajax way. We have to dominate. But I think a little sense of realism as to where we are as a club. And, this is a tough place to play. Go Ahead Eagles, historically, we've not done well, even when we've had a better squad and whatnot. So you take the win, you learn from it, you try and improve, and then we've got RKC, which again is a very winnable fixture, and hopefully another 3 points.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, because you say we have to have a sense of realism. You mentioned one of your predictions a couple of weeks ago, still in 2023, was we will end up top 6 this season. Are you standing by this top 6 prediction, or are you willing to say top 3 is possible?
No, yeah, top 6. I mean, I think that's pretty much a given, which is obviously, good news. But I would actually say, now that we started a new year, Juan, and you can clip this, I would say top 4 finish. count me in. I think we're going to finish top four, and I know that's like maybe not the craziest call because we're Ajax and it's the Eredivisie, but nothing is a given this season. But yeah, clip it in, top four.
That's fine. Let me go through the comments quickly. There are also a question about Henderson. I also want to touch upon it a little bit more because you were not in the stream of Thursday, so I want your opinion on this. You already mentioned briefly on what you think of him, but let's go a little bit more deep into this possible signing even. So a lot of people are very happy, of course, with Ramai, our Lord and Savior. Can we give him... Yeah, Ray is saying, can we give him a Dutch passport, basically? Just, let him come and play for us. Christian is saying, give him a Snickers bar. He deserved it. Puppy is happy, of course. Congrats with the win. Ramai is the best. And then, some people a little bit critical also on Bergwijn, making decisions. We had a couple of counter attacks in the second half, a couple of transition, I think at least two. And it pains me to see. It pains me to see, like, Ajax, we cannot benefit from those transition moments. If you know how to play 3 against 2 and these kind of things, we score, it's done. It's 4-2, it's done.
The thing is, Juan, I was thinking about it as well. I really can't remember in recent history, and I'm not talking about this season, but also when under Ten Hag and when we were doing really well as a team, we've not been a very effective team on counters or transitional play. It's not something, it doesn't look natural, and inevitably a wrong decision is always made. So I don't know, that doesn't surprise me. Like even at the end of the game when it was like Bergwijn, Forbes and Akpom, and it was like 3 versus 2, Bergwijn could have passed it off to Forbes and he didn't. He made the wrong decision, and then Forbes also had a moment before that and he took one touch too many. And it's just like, I don't think these guys necessarily put too much time and effort into training on how to handle those types of situations. It's more on, we have the ball, we press, we play, we 4-3-3, we play the Ajax way.
Okay. All right. Steve, quite critical even after the win. Ajax will not grow in his opinion. Van het Schip will not change his system. Ajax will remain a reactive team. That's his opinion. Murder Inc. is saying our rest defense is so terrible. But I also feel like, about the rest defense, we touch upon it a little bit. It also has to do with the midfield. Like if you look at Tahirovic, how much ground he has to cover. I mean, he still makes mistakes, in my opinion, but he's the only player on the midfield that has to, take care of all the midfield on his own, right? Because the 4 defenders that we have are basically almost always on one line, like defending on one line, right? So it makes us more vulnerable as well, and it makes Tahirovic look very vulnerable as well.
I think that hopefully with Henderson coming on board, then that will address the issues when it comes to the rest defense, because he certainly in the position that he plays as well, that's obviously a very key position in midfield. And I think that then, when, we lose possession, and then if we regain possession, the tactical shape and structure is in a way that we can, because also if you look at the type of football that he has been used to playing under Klopp at Liverpool, is also a very direct way. Like Liverpool don't necessarily mind soaking up pressure. The moment they've got the ball, bam, it's a very direct way of playing. I think he was quite key in all of that as well. So hopefully that will improve when it comes to the spaces, the gaps that we leave, the rest defense, transitional play.
Well, but Kabir, about Henderson, okay, we're touching upon him. Do you feel like he's the one that's going to change everything for Ajax? Let's be honest now. He's one player.
I know the Dutch word "verlosser," right? Like I don't necessarily.
The savior. Yeah, exactly.
The savior. I mean, look. I mean, Jordan Henderson is Jordan Henderson, right? He was obviously never a Lionel Messi. We need to be realistic. But I think that if you look at what this team needs and the types of character it needs, the types of ability that it needs, and also the position that he plays in, I definitely think he can have an impact. He for sure, because he's only 33 as well, right? So like I've heard also people say, hey, he's past it. I mean, he's not like he's 38, 39 and he's looking to play one more season or something like that. He's still a fit guy who's clearly very able. And I think that, I think there will be a big boost, not only just in terms of what he could maybe bring to the pitch, but also the young guys looking around their shoulder thinking, shit, we're sitting next to Jordan Henderson. We have to step up our game. You think because how many times have we watched Stevie Bergwijn go into the game and he's playing on 70% and he's jogging back, and if Jordan Henderson sees that happening, everyone's level will raise, I feel.
Yeah. Two more points I want to raise from the comments. Just quickly, Steve is saying, "No, Kabir, you were my last hope. Let Ajax play the Ajax way." So he's not happy with your realistic view for the remainder of the season.
I know, and like I said, there are a lot of Ajax fans that probably will feel like that, because Ajax fans are very unique and known for the fact that they'd rather lose playing the Ajax way than getting a result playing the non-Ajax way. So I don't necessarily subscribe to that school of thought.
Not always, or not this season?
No, this season. I mean, come on. How many of you would have been happy if we had dominated Go Ahead Eagles and lost 2-0 or lost 2-1? Would people have been happy and been like, oh, at least we played the Ajax way? I would rather playing a bad game and winning, because you learn from that as well, right? Like, you can play a bad game and lose, and that's bad. You can play a bad game and draw, and that's slightly better. But you play a bad game and win, that's you take that.
It depends, because we've seen also against Pek Zwolle, Hercules game just before the end of 2023. We saw that this is not something that just happened out of the blue, right? So that's worrisome. So in that sense, I agree. If you see more games like this, it becomes something we have to worry. We have to scratch our head and say, okay, we won, but Pek we didn't win, Hercules we didn't win. So we're just on the right side of the score right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Easily go wrong in the next game. So that's something that I agree with. You have to look at the overall, series of game. How are we performing? If there's one game in between the 5 games, 6 games that is not bad, like the go ahead right now, we'll take it. But if it's going to happen like this through the end, through the remainder of the season, we're going to lose points again, and then top 3, top 4 is going to be hard.
No, I agree. And I never thought I'd have to say this as an Ajax fan, but the fact that we played badly against an amateur team and lost, but we played badly against a professional team and won, there is some form of improvement in there.
I mean, you can laugh. There are a lot of Ajax fans, me included, still upset about that, to be honest, losing to an amateur team. But yeah, anyway.
I mean, look, to be honest with you, losing to an amateur team should never happen, of course. But like I said to you before the show started, Juan, I'm at that stage now emotionally with Ajax where nothing surprises me. So, of course, you should never lose to an amateur team. But I just felt like, oh, that was so fitting for how terrible this season has been. Let's just add that into the mix as well. We lost to an amateur team. But, and that also goes a little bit back to the point I'd made several months ago when I said maybe the focus, forget the cup, forget Europe. The focus should just be on getting 3 points every game in the league. So yeah.
Let's see. One game at a time, right? Ziggy is saying, look, Medic, is he even an Ajax player? To be honest, what's your point of view on that one? I mean, he had to come on in the second half because probably an injury of Sutalo. Yeah.
When he scored that first goal against, I believe, Heracles at home, was it? That 30, 40 yards. Yeah. Everyone's like, whoo, wow. Mislintat has unearthed his gems, some guy from the 2nd division in Germany. And then obviously he's stagnated or regressed, one of the two. Look, is he an Ajax player? No, of course he's not. In ordinary times, he would never have been signed for Ajax. He clearly doesn't have the quality and ability to be an Ajax player. But for what we have this season, he came on today and he did a fairly reasonable job, I feel. He didn't do anything horrific. And then he's the kind of player I feel that you just get to the end of the season and look how you can try and sell him on for a break even, or if a little bit of profit, great. But you just one tried it out, didn't work out.
Yeah, it's still, the thing is that sometimes I also think, you read all the interviews and all the players and all the articles and stuff. These are all players that just came in one of the worst Ajax, and they came in like with 10 plus. It's not like 1 or 2 players came in an Ajax structure that's already there. So we have to give. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think Medic is going to be a superstar at Ajax, but we have to give these players time. We have to give these players time,
of course. And
they're still young players. Yeah, they're still young players.
These guys are coming from 2nd division. This guy came from a 2nd division German club. And the right back as well from Denmark guy. we have to also understand and appreciate that this is the biggest move that these guys have ever made in their career. This is the biggest amount of pressure they've faced in their career. So, of course, they're human beings, right? Yeah. But that said, you would hope that throughout the course of a season, there is some form of development and improvement. And
the standards are a bit higher as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I just want to ask you one final question. It's my question towards you and also people in the comments. Maybe they can talk about it as well, just quickly. I want to talk about Berghuis just quickly, right? People are critical about Bergwijn, which I understand sometimes, but Berghuis has also been a little bit poor in recent games. Although, today he had 2 assists. He can be very, how do you call it? Like, he can have an impact, on certain set pieces or giving a through ball and these kind of things. But you don't see him like throughout the 90 minutes. He always seems to make bad decisions, or he's struggling on the right side, etc. My question to you is, and he even said that in the interview as well, that look, the coach wants him to play on the right wing, right? But he feels he's a little bit better on the midfield. What do you feel about his position and how we should utilize him in this Ajax?
Yeah, it is because Berghuis is someone who, if you look at our squad, he's like up there as the guy that should really be leading the team and performing week in, week out. Established name, Oranje international. It's a tough one, really. I mean, people say right wing, number 10. Personally, I feel that he probably is better suited to the right wing than a number 10, just because I feel that, if you look at also the matches where he's caused the most danger, this season at least, it has come from the wing, cutting in. I just feel that maybe you have to be slightly less tactically astute as well on the right wing than you would as a number 10, especially at Ajax. And I feel that he's the kind of guy that would benefit more from freedom as opposed to being overly instructed as to what to do. And look, I think his left foot is an absolute weapon. And actually, where can you get the most from his left foot? I would think, right wing, cutting in, a little bit sort of a very washed down version of Arjen Robben, but you kind of understand what I mean, right? And also utilizing his crosses to be able to service Brobbey, who obviously with his aerial threat and his aerial presence is a weapon. And also Chupa Chups, who again is very good with his head.
Who?
Akpom.
Chupa Chups. All right.
Yeah, so that's my opinion.
Okay, that's your opinion. Okay, clear. Just 2 more comments quickly. Nickname is saying, look, it's just hip to hate on Tahirovic. He had some key interceptions today for us. For his first season as a 6, he's doing fine. Way better than Alvarez did in his first season. You want to react to that quickly? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I just feel that I understand that the type of position that he plays, he's also not someone that that stands out every game, because he's doing a lot of the dirty work, closing down the lines, ball interception. When you get the ball, you pass it to the right color, etc. I get that. But there have been many games where, it's been very easy for the opposition players to, ghost past him. He doesn't have that level of physicality in that position. Or the sort of the presence, I feel it's all a little bit soft, but then again, he scored a crucial goal today, and it was a very well taken goal. So I'm not in that camp of like I'm anti Tahirovic. I think that young guy who obviously played under Mourinho as well. So, and Mourinho was very complimentary about him. So there's clearly something there, right? I think he's an example, classic example of let the first year finish, and then from year 2 he really has to. But also someone that can benefit from having a Henderson next to him or in the changing room, because the difference between him and Alvarez was fine. Alvarez might not have had a great first season, but you could see that, and we always keep coming back to this word, the grinta, and that over my dead body, I'm giving 120%. You are not, thou shall not pass. Like it's and that's what's missing, that backbone.
All right, Pele, last comment. Survive this season, get a long-term director of football who gets to appoint a competent coach, and then we trim the fat in the summer by selling the players who never shows up in the games. Agree with that?
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's damage control until the summer, Juan. Damage control until the summer. Let's try and squeeze as much as we can out of this season. Let's try and finish as high as we can. Take what we get, and then we start clean slate, fresh start. Learn the lessons. Take the lessons from the mistakes that were made, and then full steam ahead. 2 bad seasons. One bad season at Ajax is bad enough. 2 almost inexcusable. Let's try and ensure that we make sure that there's no bad third season.
Perfect ending. Keith, just quickly on your comment, this just came in. This is something about the interview of Pasveer, also in line with the interview of Tadic a couple of weeks ago. Definitely a talking point for this stream on Thursday. I have a lot of questions about that for the panels that will be during the stream. So keep an eye out on the stream on Thursday. Guys, congratulations on the 3 points. 3-2 against Go Ahead Eagles. It's not easy. Hasn't been easy for us in years. We move closer to AZ. Let's hope for progress. Kabir, let's hope for progress. Next week we go against RKC, especially against Kramer, who had a very good time laughing at us when we lost against Hercules. So it's going to be at least 5-0 next week, right?
He's a real wind-up merchant. You can tell his loyalty is very much still with Feyenoord.
It always feels forced, every time, he does something against Ajax. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
he has a chip on his shoulder, He has a chip on his shoulder, this guy, always.
Some people have to try and stay relevant, right?
Let's leave it at that. Thank you, Kabir. Thank you, guys.